Hello class, in this video we are going to be looking at some of the basic modify commands on the AutoCAD web app. So I'm here at my AutoCAD web app web page. I'm going to click on Start New Drawing. Again, make sure that your first and last name start out the drawing. For this one here, I'm just going to label it, sample. And make sure that your units are set to imperial. It typically will default to metric unless you've been working in it for a little while. So I'm going to call this drawing a sample drawing. And then in this video, we're going to be looking at some of the basic modify commands here in AutoCAD. So in the last video you looked at, we talked about the draw commands, so circles and lines and inputting specific data. We also talked about right down here in the corner, the OSnap and the ortho, turning those on and off. And so let me go ahead and draw some lines. Now, one thing that you might have noticed on your last drawing is you started typing in exact lengths. And a number of you had mentioned that you go to type in a line, let's say, 5 inches long or 2 inches long. So let's say it's at the 2 inch long, and let's say it's at 45 degrees. So I'm going to hit tab and type in 45 degrees. And then you click enter, and then it doesn't show you any line. Now, if this is the case, as a number of you had commented, make sure you go up here to the middle top area that's zoom extents. It's that blue X with the little magnifying glass. And if you click on that, well, let me get out of the command first. Let me hit escape. So if you can see on your screen right there in that box, that was actually the line, but we're zoomed out so far. If I were to draw a regular line across my screen, notice the number on the screen. It's over 1,000 inches long. And so what that tells you is that you're zoomed way out. So you need to zoom up. So once again, I'm going to go up here to zoom extents, and I'm going to click that button, and it zooms me up on that exact line. And that line right there is exactly 2 inches long at 45 degrees. And if I come over here and I annotate that, you can see there's my 2 inch line right there. Okay, so if you have that issue when you start a brand new drawing, just simply come up here after you draw your first line and hit zoom extents, and that will zoom up for you. You can also use your zoom window where it will zoom up on one little piece. So notice here, if I zoom up on that corner, it would blow up right there. Of course, you can always use your scroll mouse. And if you use your scroll mouse, you can zoom in and out with that. But I will tell you from experience, if you're zoomed way far out and you don't realize it, the zoom extents is really good at zooming you up to show you everything on your drawing page. All right, so the first command I want to show you in the modify command. So right down here in the lower left corner, we've already talked about the draw command. So let me click on the word modify, and it brings up the modify commands. Now in this video, we're going to look at half a dozen of these or so, and you're going to be using these on your next number of assignments. So let me start out with the erase. So the little pencil eraser here. If you were to select on an object, notice when you select it, it turns the blue and it has the blue grab boxes. By the way, you can click on a grab box and drag that end. The ends will move like that. Or if you click on the middle one, it'll move the whole object. Okay. But if you select that item and click on erase, bam, it erases that line. If I were to, let me undo that. And if I were to select on erase first, I can come in here and select the line and hit enter, and it also erases it the same way. If I had a number of lines, so let me draw, let's say, a bunch of lines on here, something like this. Once again, if you're in a command, hit escape a couple times to get out of that command, okay? So I'm going to go back into my modify, and I'm going to click on my erase command. Now notice if I click my cursor over here and I drag it, notice that it is blue whenever I go to the right, or where I click from, if I go to the left, it turns green and dashed, okay? So let me talk about the selector box for just a minute. I think I mentioned it in the last video, but I'll mention it again. So the blue solid box means it'll only select it if the entire object is in that box. So notice on the screen here, it has the two lines that are half in the blue box, half out of the blue box. They're not selected or shaded gray. And then the three zigzag lines that are completely inside the box, those are selected. And so they're shaded this gray. So if I were to click on the erase command and then window and select those and hit enter, because you got to hit enter to finalize the command, it just erased the zigzag and left these 2 lines that were partially in the blue box. So let me go back to my undo command. By the way, the middle top area here has your undo button. Let me undo that for just a minute. And let me click the erase command again, but instead of going and clicking on the left and dragging it over with the blue box, let me go from the right and drag it towards the left, and let me do the green box. So notice here, the box cuts through about at the same point. Okay, it has only one line completely in it, but it highlighted all of them. Let me show you that again. So whenever I select that green box, notice here that there's only one line that's completely in it, which is the line on the right. And then all the other lines in the zigzag are just partially selected. The green box here simply selects everything that it's touching. So in this case, it touched them all. And so I hit enter, and it winds up erasing them all. Okay. Once again, if you did something and you didn't mean to, simply go up here to the undo button and you can undo that. So that is your erase command. Let me talk about the next command. And the next command is going to be on the opposite side over here, and it's the move command. You've seen this little icon before, I'm sure, the little XY looking thing with the arrows. And so if you click on the move command, notice here in the bottom middle section, it says move, and then it tells you what to do. Select the objects you want to move. So let's say that I only want to move this zigzag here, here, and here. So I could select those, or I could do a window around those 3 objects alone. Notice it highlights them in this highlighted blue here. Once you've selected the items you want to move, you're going to simply hit on enter, and it now enters or says, okay, that's all I want to select. And now it tells you what to do next. Select the base point. So the base point is where you want to start the move from. So let's say that you want to start the move from this endpoint. So you're going to click there, and then you want to drag it over. Okay, and you can drag that over. And by the way, you can type in, let's see here. Well, it doesn't have the running icon like a regular AutoCAD has. And so you can move that over from one point to another. So let's say that you're in this command and you don't mean to be. I'm going to hit escape to get out of that command, and it puts it back. Okay. And let me, just for the sake of this illustration here, let me do a copy command real quickly. We'll talk about that in just 1 minute. Okay. And I put it 3 inches over. Okay, I'll show you that here in just a minute. But let's say that we want to move these items here. So I'm going to do another window. I want these 3 zigzag items to move from this bottom end to this bottom end. So I'm going to go back to my move command, and I'm going to select it. Notice whenever you selected the items first, it didn't tell you what to select. It just went ahead and said, okay, where do you want to move from? Because it assumes that you already know what you want to move when you've selected them first. So in this case, once again, I'm going to select the base point. So let's say that I want to move it from this end point here. And let's say that in this scenario, I want to move it up to the top here. And so I can snap to that top section there. And so that's an easy and quick way. So once again, the move command, if you don't, you can either select your items first and then click move, and then you just tell it where you want to move it from and to. Or once again, you can select your move command and then window it, and that selects whatever you want to move. And then you have to tell it, once you've selected them, you have to tell it you're done selecting items. So you hit enter, and it says, where do you want to move it from? You snap the base point. So let's say that in this case, I want to move it from this top point here. Let's say I want to snap down to the bottom here. So I'm going to snap my 2, specify the second point, and it's going to snap it right to there. So that is your move command. Your copy command is very similar to that. So the 1 circle to the multiple circles, this is your copy command. So I'm going to select on copy, and it says select items you want to copy. So let's say that I want to copy these 2 little lines here. So I window around them. Once I have everything selected, I'm going to hit enter, and that tells it that you're done selecting things. It says, where do you want to specify the base point? Now, in this case, it's going to be the exact same thing that we did with the move command. You can just click and drag. You can snap one endpoint to another endpoint, and so forth. So that feature operates just like the move. I want to show you a couple other ways, though. So let's say that you want to copy this exactly 1 inch to the right. So in this case, I'm going to just simply pick up here, because it doesn't really matter where my base point is. But in this case, notice that I'm going at diagonal. If I'm going in a downward left pattern and I type in a number, it will put that number away. Or if I want to go in a straight line across at a certain distance away, I can turn on my ortho, which is down here in the lower right corner. I click ortho. And so now I'm going to scroll this over. Now, in this case, you don't want to guesstimate. You want to tell it exactly how much you want to copy if it's a specific distance. So right now, where it says specify the second point, whichever way I'm moving my cursor, I can type in a number and it will copy it that far over. So if I want to copy from this little 7 looking thing and I want to go directly 1 inch to the right, whenever I turn that ortho on, it goes straight horizontal, and then I type in the number 1, if you can see at the bottom middle of my screen here where it says specify second point. I just simply type 1 and I hit enter, and now notice that it copied it over exactly 1 inch. And I could do the same thing for 2 and type in 2 and hit enter, and it pops it in. I did 3 just a minute ago. I can do 4 and hit enter. I can go back the other way and go 1, enter. Notice that it copies whichever direction the cursor is going. So 2, enter. I can do that down. So let's say I want to go down 1 inch. So I move my cursor down and I hit 1, enter. And I can do that again and hit 2, enter. And it's just becoming this stair-step motion where I can type in exact distances. Okay. Once again, you can do this for the move. If you want to move all this over, you select everything, hit enter. You can click it here and type in, let's say you want to move it over 3 inches. So I type in 3, enter, and it moved it over exactly 3 inches. Okay, those features work the same for the copy and for the move commands. Let's see here, 2 more commands we're going to look at, and then this video will wrap up. So I want to look at the offset command. So this double C looking shape here is the offsets command. So I'm going to click on offset. And now notice what it says down here in the bottom middle. Select object to offset, or, and then it gives me a couple of other things I can get out of it or undo it. So if I select this item, notice now it says what distance do you want to offset it. So let's say that I want to offset this at, let's say, 2 inches. So if I type in the number 2 and hit enter, it now has offset that 2 inches. If I were to select this item and want to go the other way 2 inches, I move my cursor the other way, hit 2, and now it has offset that. Okay, so that's your offset command. So in the AutoCAD web app, you have to enter in each one for your distance that you want. So if you want to offset that 1 inch, again, you type in 1 and hit enter. In the actual AutoCAD full program, you can actually set the distance, and then it's the same for every one you want to offset at that distance. So that's your offset command. This is really handy. Let's say that I drew a circle. Let's say that I have my circle right here, and the radius is 1 inch. And let's say that this circle, now I want to offset that circle. I can come in here and do the offset command, and I can select my object, and I can tell it now from that existing circle, I want to go 1 more inch out, and now it pops that out 1 inch offset this way out. If I want to come inward, now keep in mind this is only a 1 inch radius, so if I go 1, it'll not give me anything. So let's say I want to go 1/2 an inch in, I would simply move my cursor towards the center of the circle and type in 0.5 for 1/2 an inch. I hit enter, and there it has now offset that circle. So it's really handy to make different size circles and offset lines that are going to be parallel to each other. One more here that we want to look at. Let's say that I have, a line at exactly 4 inches. And let's say that I have a line going up exactly 4 inches. And so let's say that in this case, I'm going to use my offset command. Let's select the right command. That's copy. This one here is offset. So let's say I want it to be 1 inch apart. So I type in 1, enter. Now I offset this one, another inch up, enter. I select this one, another 1 inch up, enter. I select this one, another 1 inch up, enter. I do the same thing over. So this 1 inch over. Let's say I want this one here 1 inch over, and this one here 1 inch over, and this one here 1 inch over. So let's say that I have this feature right here. And let's say that for this box, what we want is we want the inside shape to be left alone like a window, and we want all of these lines right here to be trimmed off or cut off. So the last command we're going to look at in this video is your trim command. So if you come down here to the little scissors and notice that it cuts or snips the line. So I'm going to select on trim. Okay. So now in this particular case, if you hit enter, okay, if you hit enter, then that allows you, every one you select, you can trim off. And when you're done, you just simply hit escape to get out. Okay, let me show you that again. Okay, let me undo that for a second. Okay. So this platform in the AutoCAD web app is just a tweak different than the full version of AutoCAD. So you don't even have to hit enter. You just simply select on trim, and now every line that's touching another object, you can just trim off. Okay, so you don't have to hit enter there. On the full version of AutoCAD, you actually do have to hit enter, but this one is just whatever line's touching it. You can also do the fence. So once again, that fence where you drag that down, and that is every line that it touches now is trimmed off. Okay, so I can click and drag and I can trim all those out. Notice here that now I have an outer box and I have this little inside box that maybe looks like a little window or something like that. The trim command is how you can remove those items. Let's say that we have a line right out here. Let's see here. Let's snap it to there. And let's say that we want to trim this line out. And so if I go in here and I hit on trim, and now I want to trim this line out. So I click on this line and bam, it trims that out. If I come up here and I click on that one, it now erases it too. So this is a little feature different than the standard AutoCAD the AutoCAD program as well, is now the trim also allows for an erasure. So the trim command is a quick and easy tool to clean up a drawing. So we, in this video, have looked at erase, move, copy, offset, and trim. Please let me know if you have any questions on these things. But otherwise, just start practicing with it on your drawings, and you'll get better and use them very fluently before you know it.